Yeah, I can see some of people from Europe are joining, so that's great to come together in this way. It's good to take some time to just enjoy that feeling of connecting with others. In the mandala of Lama Zopa and Lama Yeshe, and this is actually a part of Mahamudra practices, that sense of spaciousness, that sense of connectedness, which arises when we sit together with the intention to grow up, to heal up for the benefit of all. And blessings, the protection of the masters of this lineage, they are part of that field. So if you bring your sense a bit into your body, your mindfulness and your attention, and let's just breathe together for a few moments. And in our heart also open this bridge from Europe to North America. And I see that some of you have images of Buddhas or teachers in your room, so that all of that can become part of the field we are sitting in right now. So you assuming your seat as a practitioner in this tradition, on your sacred spot, on your vajra seat, under your Bodhi tree, which is of course beautiful that it is in your living room or in the place you're living. Yeah, and if you like, you can close your eyes. If you keep your eyes open, the gaze is relaxed without particularly looking at something. It might be supportive if you bring the flow of the in and out breath a bit into the foreground, lightly, not as a concentration method, but just lightly resting with the aliveness in the breath. And then with the in-breath sliding or dropping into the trunk of your body towards the earth. And then at the out-breath there is a lightness, there is a letting go. The out-breath effortlessly just happens. So let a softening happen in your body, in your heart with the out-breath. your shoulders, in your belly. And remember that we are doing this together in the sacred space which arises when we come together as a Sangha, protected by the presence of the Buddha. Nobody is alone. And thoughts, they become less important. They slide into the background or peripheral awareness. So you gravitate towards present moment awareness. With the in-breath, holding or touching whatever rises. So you bring with you, whatever you bring with you into this moment. Everything is welcomed. Everything is allowed to be just as it is. And if you get entangled into the stream of thinking, into the inner dialogue, then make this gentle gesture back into the body, into the aliveness of the body, and you welcome yourself. And you are welcomed in the sacred space. You're welcomed in the space of our good intention. You're welcome in the space of bodhicitta. So there's less and less a sense of that you're meditating, and more a sense of that you're being meditated by the space around you, by the space which we share, this space where we meet from heart to heart. And then for those who have a connection with the Tibetan tradition, I call upon the presence of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and Lama Zopa, Lama Yeshe. And I invite you to be creative and to invite your mentors, your guardians, Buddhist and non-Buddhist, male and female, and they just manifest like angels, protective angels, guardian angels. And they surround you and they are filling the space between us. You feel their loving gaze. You hear them. Maybe you have a visual image of their faces or their body, but that's not so important. More important is to have a sense of bathing, like bathing in the sun. You can also smell them, like a sense of loving kindness. And still the breath can be somewhat in the foreground, and you breathe in their joy, their warmth, and you also breathe out into the shared space. You breathe out light, healing, loving kindness, care. And then you rest. And let everything just happen within the sacred space, the loving space. Which is all around you, within you. So there's not only a softening in your inner world, but also in your outer world. The outer landscape is also changing. And returning, resting. Try to lose interest in the stream of thinking, as if it's a radio station which is neither bothering you nor interesting you. And rest in present moment awareness. There's nothing to do right now for you. There's nothing you need to figure out. There's nothing you need to understand. Just being here. In the mandala, in the temple of our meeting, for a few moments, allow yourself to be infinitely loved. By a love which is bigger than you, but also is in you. With a heart like the sky. So literally as if you are in the same room with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa, Jesus. So the narrative self can relax. And a deeper, more open part or aspect of you can reveal itself. Returning and resting and following the out-breath into the vastness. As if you let things go and they are like balloons disappearing in the vastness of the autumn sky. Bathing with your whole body, every cell of your body is opening like a flower in the sun of bodhicitta. Appreciating that we are together, that we are meeting, our hearts are mingling. And it's not only this group, there's countless other people right now in the presence of the divine, in their homes, in monasteries, in temples, in churches. And then you rest. There's literally nothing to do. Sense of surrendering. Sense of letting go of control and letting yourself be loved. There might be some tension, there might be some restlessness or tiredness. And here in this way of meditating, we don't apply antidotes. We just stay aware and bathing in essence love, bathing in the always present Lama. And then I invite you to become aware of the fact that whatever you experience right now, you experience within consciousness, within awareness, within mind. So even the walls around you, or the floor you sit on, or the sense of being localized in this body, even that, all of that is happening, is experienced within consciousness, within awareness, within mind. So you could say whatever you experience right now is inside, also this voice, inside of consciousness, inside of awareness. So even if you have your eyes open, the image, the experience is an experience within consciousness, within awareness. In that way, we can say that this moment is like a dream. It vividly appears, this moment, but it is an empty appearance, an appearance without substance, exactly like a dream. Exactly like a dream image vividly appearing, but it has no substance. So check up for yourself. Do you experience anything outside of awareness, outside of consciousness? And that what you experience, even if it seems to be quite solid, quite real, what is it made of, the experience itself? What is it made of? Isn't it made out of the same stuff your dreams are made of? And then you rest, just in that recognition that what you experience is an experience within awareness, And the experience itself has a dreamlike nature. And then you rest. In spaciousness. Notice that also the sense of I, the sense of me, the sense of myself is also an experience, like the other experiences, within consciousness, within awareness. And it also has no substance. It is like a dream. You could say that there's two things happening. That's the conditioned mind, the moving mind, that which you experience right now, the content of your experience, sensations, thoughts, feelings, sounds, touch, the display of your karma, including the sense of I. So that is one level, the conditioned level, which is changing moment by moment. You can notice that very easily. Could be almost a sense of a stream or clouds passing. And it's just happening. And softening and opening to that. But then there is also something else. Something which is not changing. Like the sky. Does not change when clouds pass through. Isn't there also stillness, presence, spaciousness, peace? And even if you just have a glimpse, a taste of spaciousness, of peace, of love, of loving presence, which reveals itself in this sacred space we share. So even if you have just a glimpse of it, of course we don't know what I'm talking about. It's a glimpse of the heart. It is not understanding something or finding something. It's more mysterious than that. So even if there's only a glimpse, maybe only a short moment where the light comes through, where the love comes through, then bring that to the foreground. Breathe with it. Even if there's only a glimpse of the mighty, loving stillness of this holiness, the Dalai Lama, just bring it to the foreground and then rest. So if there's a bit of shrinking inside because the sacred space within which we mingle can be also a bit threatening, almost overwhelming, then that's a good sign. If there's a bit of fear or respect, but softening and opening and just staying as much as you can, let go of the mini-me, of the narcissistic endless loop of the narrative self. Let it just fade away like a balloon rising up into the autumn moon. And let yourself be held and protected, guarded by the field. Effortlessly, just being here. Not knowing where here is. Is there stillness here? Is there peace here? Is the Lama here? Or let the experiences within the felt sense of your body and your thoughts, your feelings, just give it over into the space. Just sitting in the midst of your experience. And resting as the stillness, as the peace. Resting as the space to which this moment flows. There's a glimpse of that stillness, a glimpse of that natural peace. bring it to the foreground. As if you are sinking into the depth of the ocean, where the clouds doesn't disturb you, the waves, where the waves don't disturb you. And then you rest. Could you allow yourself to gravitate towards a sense of satisfaction, wholeness? And of course, you might get carried away again, entangled. Maybe you find yourself trying to do something. And then there's the possibility to, with the out-breath, to let go again, to let the balloon disappear in the vastness of the autumn sky. And then a short calling upon the Lama. A short glimpse of unconditional love bathing you. And then resting in the boundaryless, centerless, transpersonal, effortless, heart of all the Buddhas. And that's why we are here together. To make contact with the heart, with the Buddha heart within us. Allowing the sun of love and wisdom, your true nature, to reveal itself. For the benefit of all. Then if you have your eyes closed, I invite you in your own pace to open them, to shift a bit out of this meditation, but without leaving your seat, as son as a daughter of the Buddhas. So the content of your experience is changing. Maybe you want to stretch your body a bit. You bring your attention maybe more to the screen again. But all that is happening within our meditation. Yeah, so the topic of our meetings tomorrow and then also the other weekend in December is Mahamudra. Yeah, so this will not be like a traditional philosophical exploration of the topic, but more an experiential approach, more in the style of the meditation we just did, which in a way was also a teaching. In the same way, what I'm saying now is also a bit of a guided meditation. So in the Geluk tradition, the Mahamudra practice is based on a text by the Panchen Lama Shiki Gyaltsen. It's quite an ancient text, a few hundred years old. And there is a commentary of Lama Yeshe on that text, on that root text of the Mahamudra practice in the Geluk tradition. So I will refer to that book, and I will also refer to Lama Yeshe's book, Transformation of Desire, Introduction into Tantra, because there's also a big chapter there on the nature of consciousness, on the nature of mind, and how to meditate upon it. So I myself have been interested in Mahamudra practice, or the exploration of consciousness, of awareness, the nature of awareness, which is, of course, exploring myself. Yeah? So if you want to answer the question, who am I? Of course, then you can go through all the relative stuff, all what we identified with, but at one point you would want to go deeper, so because there is a sense that there is something more, that there is something deeper. So Mahamudra practice is, in a way, very similar to self-inquiry in Advaita Vedanta. So looking into who I am beyond all this which comes and goes and which will die soon. Is there something? Or is there just the conditioned, the relative? Is there something more? And I guess all of us here, because that's why we are interested in a meeting like this, have a sense, maybe even since childhood, that there is something more, something mysterious, which you can't grasp, which and children actually, they do a lot of these kind of crazy questions, which are found actually in the Mahamudra tradition. Yeah? Like trying to go to the boundary of awareness. So what's behind that? And, children sometimes they do that. So as all these texts, also this text starts with the preparation practices, the preliminaries, or how can we create a foundation where we can rest, a refuge where we can rest. So that which wants to reveal itself, unconditional love, your Buddha nature, so there's something within us which wants to reveal itself, which wants to shine through you, through the way you look at other people, through the way you look at yourself, through your hands, through your voice. So there's a yearning, a longing within us to be more and more brave, to shine, to contribute. So the preliminary practice is about creating a space so that a foundation, so that this shift can actually happen. And but these weekend and next weekend, I don't want to emphasize the preparation practices, and I assume that all of us, we are doing some kind of preparation practices in the different traditions. So all healing practices, and I would also include psychotherapy here, and maybe some of you do some traditional preparation practices, and depending on your background, depending on the tradition you are practicing, or maybe you are not taking a seat within one certain tradition. That's completely fine, because Mahamudra meditation is really universal, and it's definitely, or at least that's my opinion, it is the mystic experience on which all spiritual traditions on this planet rest upon. So I have not only me, but many also have the sense that the experience of non-duality, which Mahamudra leads into, the experience of non-duality, the experience of unity, the experience of connectedness and openness, and the experience that it is all about love, even the tough things are somehow connected with an expression of wisdom and love. So I think Mahamudra meditation, and particularly the experience of non-duality, which Mahamudra meditation leads into, is universal. It's a universal human experience. It doesn't depend on which kind of language you speak, or which time you lived, or what kind of philosophical view you have. It's a very shared, common human experience, when the sacred, when the divine breaks into our life. So I would like to pick on some of the aspects of the meditation we just did, some of the ingredients of Mahamudra meditation. And part of these aspects, they actually belong into the category of the preparation practice, of the preliminary practices. And the first thing here I want to mention in the meditation we just did is taking taking your seat. Yeah. So the foundation or the fundament of the posture. And taking the seat here means that you maybe assume a meditation posture, like sitting, standing, lying down, walking. So all these are the four meditation postures the Buddha taught. And that within that posture you take your seat. And you take your seat in the same way the Buddha took his seat, his Vajra seat, in the myth of Buddhism under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya. But to take your seat, that means also that with that seat, taking your seat as a practitioner, with that comes the commitment that you are willing to touch and hold everything what arises. Exactly like the Buddha and the Bodhi tree. And probably many of you know the story, so he was sitting down with that strong commitment. This is my seat where I will awake, where I will liberate, where I will find liberation. And no matter what is coming up, I will stay seated. And before you do anything in your meditation, it's really helpful to take some time to assume that seat and feel the earth, feel your body, and soften your front. So you soften your belly, you soften your chest as a sign of your loyalty towards your experience. As a sign that you are willing to bring yourself along as you are into this moment. So you also notice that you take some time to reconnect with the inner weather. In that seat there is also a healthy sense of pride. It's like you take your seat. I have the right to be here. This is my space. So you feel a strong back and a soft front. And then in the beginning of the meditation I was inviting you to more deeply connect with the felt sense of your body. And this is so important. Any Mahamudra meditation in a way is body work. Yeah. So it's not mental work, it's body work. By the way, I think this is actually true for any kind of meditation, so that when we do our prayers or sadhanas or mantra, to be aware that we are working with a subtle energy body with these practices. It's happening, and the awakening, the compassion is something happening within your body, and you can feel it. So, sometimes Mahamudra is explained as the meditation on the nature of mind. Yeah, but this is not like up here. The nature of mind is not up here. But it can happen that in our meditation practice and also in Mahamudra practice, because we are so heady, we are so disassociated, and some of us don't feel. You might not feel safe in the body. Yeah. So it's so important to bring whatever practices you do, and also for Mahamudra practice, to bring your body, your whole body into the meditation. So that means also that you bring your anger with you, you bring your anger with you into the Mahamudra meditation. You bring your tiredness into the Mahamudra meditation. You bring your joy into the Mahamudra meditation. Just the soup of the day. So you bring the soup of the day into Mahamudra meditation, and it's very different kinds of soups, like slightly different every day. So another ingredient in this meditation was the intention. So the intention, why are we practicing? To bring the intention of bodhicitta into the practice, that we are yearning for healing and growing up, because we want to remove the obstacles of the narrative self, the obstacles of the conditioned mind. We want to remove that so that we are more able to help others. So also there might be, as a side effect of Mahamudra meditation, a sense of a deeper well-being, a more fundamental well-being. But that fundamental well-being is then offered, is then shared. So bodhicitta, to bring the intention of bodhicitta. That also this moment, what I say and what you hear, what you experience, that all of that is held within the intention of bodhicitta. And then the third ingredient here I want to mention is of the meditation we just did is a kind of guru yoga, what is called guru yoga. In Scandinavia, I don't say guru yoga because then I have lost 90% of the audience. So there I call it the mentor bonding process. The mentor bonding process. And it's not only a mentor bonding process, so I can also, sometimes I say, to unify with the mentor. So it's not only a bonding with the Lama, it's to melt, to unify, to mingle with the heart of the Lama. And for those who don't have a connection like that, or of course that refuge field can be very personal and very creative. Inviting people into the space who, for you, embody loving awareness. So this heart connection to a mentor is, within the Mahamudra tradition, one of the most important preparation. to cultivate a bond like that. In Mahamudra practice, at one point, we are at a threshold where we have to let go of our identification with that what we believe we are. So there is, and you are on that threshold of boundarylessness, centerlessness, openness, but where you still feel safe is the mess of the narrative self. It sucks, but at least we know who we are and where we are. So to let go of the identification with the content of your experience, this is like dying. This is what exactly happens in the death process. In a way, you could say Mahamudra meditation is going through the death process, and it is one of the best preparation for the death process. Because in the death process, some of you might be familiar with the teachings on the 8 dissolution in the death process. So there's a lot of knowledge within the Tibetan tradition where you learn, where they describe the process of death. And so the process of death is this process of dissolution of the conditioned mind, of that what we think we are, that what we are identified with. So in order to let go over the threshold, it's very good when there's a Lama standing there and taking your hand and bringing you over the threshold into the loving nothingness, which you unfortunately you can't bring yourself along. Yeah, so it would be, that's what the narrative self wants. It wants to awake at itself. Yeah? It wants to heal as itself. Be a more awakened I. But so to kind of be able to make that step, it's really helpful. In the Tibetan tradition, one would even say necessary to have that heart of the Lama to step into, which is your own heart. It's the real you. But the little you, the narrative self, is not going to happily just dissolve. Did you want to ask something, David? Yeah. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. No, we are talking about the same, and at the same time, it's good to understand that we don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, but we're talking about the same. just we don't have any clue what we are talking about. But in that, and I can see at your smile that you understand what I'm saying. So that means there is a security between us right now that we are talking about the same thing. It's just we don't know what we're talking about. So if that is, if that kind of what just is happening now, if that kind of gives you like something, a glimpse or something like that, so then in a way you could say, I mean, I'm not giving transmission or pointing out pointing out instructions, but in a way this is like a light version of a pointing out instruction. And what is for me so joyful is it happens between just two people who just have met each other. We don't know each other. I don't know anything about you, and so sometimes this kind of recognition, when it arises in a situation like this, it's sometimes more important than having a kind of full-blown pointing out instruction with a lama. Yeah. So, but that it can happen, this glimpse, yeah, in a moment like this. So there is also in the text, Shöki Gyaltsen describes three ways to practice Mahamudra. And what I talked about, the conversation with David right now happened in the context of what is called Essence Mahamudra. And Essence Mahamudra is the same as Dzogchen practice. And if you read, the books of Lama Yeshe, well, I've never met Lama Yeshe, but maybe some of you did. But a lot of the way Lama Yeshe was teaching, and it shines through the books also, that there is a lot of essence Mahamudra in his teachings, meaning the direct path. Yeah, so the direct pointing to the possibility to have a glimpse, an experience of Buddha nature in the present moment, not in the future once we have done all the preliminaries and all the studies. So that's the progressive path, the gradual path. Obviously it has its value. And we all benefit from these practices. But these practices, they are provisional. Yeah? So they are all about changing the dream, having a better dream. So Essence Mahamudra is that kind of direct pointing to the sky. And this direct pointing needs relationship. And for some people it works very well to have this devotional relationship to a Lama and being pointed out the nature of mind, from heart to heart. But for me this just was a beautiful example with David, that there can be a bit of a pointing out, a bit of glimpse, a bit of opening the breathing space, feeling some relief, also in a relationship, in a condition right now, like just students coming together. Yeah, maybe there's another question. yeah, so a possibility is if you connect with the way I talk, and you can stand my German accent and something you enjoy in this field, then you could listen to some guided meditation on my podcast, which is called Natural Meditation Podcast. It's you can listen it on on all the podcast apps or directly on SoundCloud. So that would be a possibility, but also probably you have already the your favorites of in terms of pointing out. So if you want to stay in the Tibetan tradition, so there's teachers who emphasize the kind of more direct pointing out. But probably if you are in this kind of interest in non-duality, so Buddhism is a non-dual experience. All the Buddhist teachings are meant to give birth to the experience of non-duality. So there's also other non-dual teachers pointing out instructions like teachings around on YouTube. Yeah. But you could also, since we meet together tomorrow, so maybe you want to listen to some. In this kind of Mahamudra approach in meditation, you will find in almost all my guided meditations. So even if I lead a loving kindness meditation or I emphasize shamatha, it's always in the flavor of a bit of pointing out or shifting into awareness. It's always there in my guided meditations. Yeah, so I mentioned shamatha just in a sentence before, and so this is a big part of this text by Panchen Lama Chökyi Gyaltsen is around shamatha, stabilizing the mind, and if you are around the Tibetan tradition for a while, you probably receive teachings of the 9 stages of shamatha. And definitely in the Gelug tradition, you would always receive the teachings before you do anything else regarding meditating on the nature of mind, Mahamudra meditation. First, you need to cultivate shamatha. So that's a very strong emphasis in the Gelug tradition, but it is debatable, and it is so there's other views around this. Obviously, it helps to have some tools to come into a place where you can actually, where there is enough space so that you can meet your inner life and you can let it be as it is. And part of this could be a bit of stabilizing your mind with an object like the breath, or but in essence Mahamudra, or also in the Dzogchen view, it is recognized that of course the sky is untouched, the sky is always there. It doesn't matter if there's only a few clouds or if there's just a thunderstorm. Or the example of the boiling water. So the clarity of the water is present. The essence of water is present no matter in what aggregate the water is. So ice is still water and boiling water is still water, and the clarity of water is untouched. So in the same way, although it's difficult, but I guess we can all kind of understand that the spaciousness of mind, the clarity, the innate clarity, which is in the nature of love, this is very important to bring this love aspect into. So meditation on the emptiness of mind, it sounds kind of, it doesn't sound so sexy if you don't know what we're talking about. why should I meditate on the emptiness of something? Yeah? So it's important that from the beginning, and this is one of the most enjoyable sentences for me in Lama Yeshe's book, in the introduction into Tantra, where he says that the mind of non-duality, the unconditioned mind, the primordial mind, is in the nature of love. Is in the nature of love. And here, yes. Yeah? Okay, no, I didn't see that. Okay. There's a chat question. Oh, I didn't notice that. Could you explain more about the selection of a Lama relationship? Have listened to you for a few years, among many others. Okay. Selection. Yeah. So this is, this is a vast topic. But yeah, so we have some minutes left, and it is important. It is an important, particularly in Mahamudra practice or in awareness of awareness practice, even like in the other traditions, the relationship to the guru, the relationship to a mentor. For sure, in the Tibetan tradition, they would say that that only within a bond like that, the nature of mind can reveal itself. The essence of love can reveal itself. I'm not sure if that is a bit too dogmatic, because there seems to be people who have genuine experience of awakening, like lasting experiences of awakening outside of this kind of relationship. Yeah. And definitely it doesn't happen only in the Tibetan tradition. Yeah, the choice, the selection. Definitely you need to like that person. Yeah, that's like it depends. It's very different for everyone, because a more kind of rational, guided person, a person who tries to figure things out. You can choose a teacher, like on your common sense. Like, okay, so what, like you check out the centers in the area where you live, and you just check up. You look into the qualification of the teacher, his training. You look into what kind of stuff he is teaching or she is teaching. So there is a bit of common sense checking. Yeah? Also, there's a lot of frauds around. But these days of the internet, it's quite easy to to do some research and check up. Also check up if the teacher is connected with an organization or with a lineage. To check up the organization. And sometimes it also has just practical reasons. So you go to a nearby Dharma center, and the guy there or the teacher, she is okay, and and then you just continue. For some people, it's more they have by chance, like coincidences coming together. You just drop in somewhere, and you have no idea what kind of tradition this is, or it just happens, or you're drawn to a certain event and you go there and something is deeply touched in you. And this being deeply touched, so that is definitely a criteria to come back and then slowly cultivate a relationship to that teacher. So if you come across, listening to different teachers, maybe in different traditions initially, maybe you already feel more safe within the Tibetan tradition, so there's also differences there. But then if you come in touch with someone, somehow, who touches you, where you feel more breathing space, where something bigger reveals itself for you, kind of the narrative self, the shadow of the narrative self quietens down a bit. And you have an experience to be in the presence of the divine. And that doesn't, I'm not necessarily talk about the dramatic thing. Yeah? So it could be just like and then next week you come back to that room, to that teacher, and you feel the same. So it was not just a one-time thing. You sit down and you, what was my problem? Oh shit! For a moment I forgot that I have a problem and that I have so many questions. Yeah? Then still, I think at that point it's good to not throw the common sense into the basket, and still check with the older students. Is the organization transparent? Yeah? What is with the finances? Yeah? Would you like to join that club for a while? Yeah? And yes, and then the journey begins of cultivating that relationship. So that's so important. Yeah? So it's not like you just passively go there for years, so you need to show up, and share, ask questions, contribute, to develop a relationship. And you do that, you cultivate that relationship as long as you grow, as long as there's healing happening. And even then, if you move on, you keep that bond to that teacher. Is it necessary to have a bond like this? My personal answer to that is no. But that's debatable. Yeah, so some people would strongly disagree with that. Yeah. So for me, it's not. I mean, just in my observation, I don't see necessarily more development in terms of healing and becoming a better person just because people have a guru. Yeah. I have a guru, as if that is like a, yeah. And on the other hand, I see a lot of people who don't have that kind of traditional relationship, and they do a serious growing up, waking up and healing project, which also shows in their being. So there's no rush. Yeah. So no, there's a lot of. In tomorrow, I will share with you some of the kind of traditional questions within coming from the Mahamudra tradition. So we don't need to kind of benefit from these practices and have first experiences. And anyway, if you come back tomorrow, in a way, so then we have a relationship, right? So it's happening right now. And I mean, I'm not this kind of I have students teacher guy, but so if you come back tomorrow, then there must be some trust, yeah, something, and so that I think that's a good enough relationship for initial having glimpses. Yeah? It can even happen in a YouTube video. Yeah? So you listen to someone who you are karmically, energetically connected with, and the YouTube video can become a kind of pointing out instruction. So pointing out instruction here is a term from the Dzogchen tradition. It is that practice of pointing to the sky directly in the present moment, not in the future, but now. And it's based on the assumption that, like Lama Yeshe says in Introduction to Tantra, that we actually have everything available in this moment to be complete, to come to the end of seeking. It's just a matter of recognizing that. And that recognition, that is the deepest level of Mahamudra practice. But Mahamudra practice also has this initial phase of relating to the content of your experience, changing the relationship to the content of your experience. And I did that a bit in the meditation. And so the change is softening the resistance and sliding into compassionate presence, sliding into loving awareness, and being willing not to back up from the content, from that which shows itself.